Welcome to the People, Passion, and Purpose podcast, where you will hear from creative small business owners in the trenches every single day, talking story, talking lessons, talking failures, talking truth. I'm your host, Nina L. Kovner. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. This week we have our first returning guest, one of my favorites, my bestie, Gordon Miller. Gordon, welcome.
Hey, Nina. Hey, audience.
Hi, audience. This is also a very different type of podcast because Gordon and I are literally sitting right next to each other as we record this. So we usually do this over Skype or FaceTime. So we're actually sitting here in Los Angeles.
We are verging on intimate.
Yes, we are super close. If you do not know Gordon Miller, he is the Chief Engagement Officer at Hairbrain.me and was one of the original founders of Passion Squared. So it's always cool to have Gordon here because he's so smart. He has so much wisdom and he has so much context, which was the topic of last week's Passion Squared podcast.
My favorite Passion Squared podcast to date. And I love all of them, but I loved your little context rant and I couldn't agree with all of it more.
Thank you. And of course, we all listen to the Hairbrain podcast. You guys know there's a new episode every week with the host, Gordon Miller, with all of these incredible artists and thought leaders. And it's really super cool. So be sure if you haven't subscribed to the Hairbrain podcast, Hairbrain Conversations, be sure to jump on that. So speaking of Hairbrain, I mean, Gordon and I are just hanging out this afternoon, and usually our hangout sessions include, just kind of creative brainstorming, talking about what's happening, what's new in the world, in business, or whatever. But there's something really new happening at Hairbrain, and this is why you're in Los Angeles this week. Can you tell us about Hairbrain Live? What is it?
So, yes, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm ridiculously excited. Nina knows so much about the story, and she also knows the backstory. So the short version is that Hairbrain's launching online learning. It's called HB Live Academy. It is a complete online learning platform. It's going to be different. I hope it's going to revolutionize online learning for our industry. It's really our goal is to take kind of the immersive experience of a workshop and be able to bring it to you online in a way that you kind of feel that you're there, but you also get some of the benefits that you get by being in a workshop. Maybe not so much hands-on, but I think one of the best things about a workshop is all the stuff happening around you. To be able to experience the coaching of not just yourself, but the person next to you. And there's so much learning. So you'll see coaching and you'll see great instructors. We're going to have some of the very best in the industry. Our co-founder, Gerard Scarpese, is up first doing something called Innovative Cutting.
Yay, Gerard.
And it's exciting. I got off the plane today. And you and I have talked about online learning for years.
Oh, yes.
And, I had this kind of moment of I was just excited to get here, because we were going to be in a big studio. This is like TV. This is not like...
it's a major production, right?
There's going to be 6 cameras, a 20-person crew, 5 students in the workshop. They're building a set today. Tomorrow I'll be over there to kind of to review the set.
Oh my gosh.
And there's such a great backstory. But before I do the backstory,
because you have to share the backstory.
Yeah, because it's really quite special. It's very, very exciting and special. But I had this moment. I was actually standing waiting for the shuttle bus over to my hotel, and I was just kind of thinking about all of this and the big idea of online learning, but just education generally, and why is it so relevant today? And I think, standing back and looking at the industry and what's happened over the last 5 years or so, I think that in real time, because there's nothing better than a real-time workshop, nothing better than a real-time class. Yeah. But I would argue, without data to support it, but a lot of anecdotal, a lot of observation, I think people are taking less real-time classes than ever. We just came out of the big beauty shows, and I saw fewer people in classrooms, and I saw fewer classrooms being offered. We know that, the manufacturers, budget cuts and the economy over time, that there's less happening there sometimes. And I think that it's an alternative, that its time has come. But at the same time, I haven't seen a lot of online learning that excites me. And so I'm genuinely excited about this, and that goes to the backstory.
Right. Yeah. So you guys, I want you to listen to this story. And to me, this is such a great reminder of never giving up. And, if you just have that burning gut feeling that something matters and this stuff's important, don't ever give up. So, okay, Gordon, you got it.
Well, this whole story has a lot of Nina feelings in it, I think. And because,
you're having feelings?
Well, there's kind of there's a lot of zen in this story. And, you speak a lot about intention.
Oh,
and I understand it and I appreciate it and I believe in it, but I don't express it the way you do, and I don't talk about it as often as you do in really impactful ways. But I think the heart of this story is intention.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And so many, many years ago, I want to say about 6 or 7 years ago, many
many moons ago, not as old as we are, though.
Yeah, no,
not that many.
Not that many. But Randy Taylor, co-founder of Hairbrained, my favorite videographer, hairdresser on the planet.
We love you, Randy.
We do. So Randy and I used to exchange websites. This was before I was ever involved in Hairbrained. I was a member of the community. I was really passionate, as were you. We were connecting with everybody, meeting all these people we'd never met. It was pre-Instagram, kind of somewhat early on social. And it was a really unique space. And Randy and I started just sharing websites. Look at this, look at that. Had nothing to do with beauty, just things that we saw that maybe someday might impact beauty. And one of the spaces was online learning. So he sent me a link and he just said, check this out. No words, no nothing. I went back and found the email. So
I love that.
I have all my old emails in my Yahoo account. So I scrolled, I found the early Randy, and there it was. Check out this link. And it took me to a site called Creative Live. Now, Creative Live is an online learning platform for photographers. It's renowned all over the world. It's kind of changed the whole game of learning in photography. It's quite unique because it again, kind of where we're headed, it brings more of a class environment. Students, teachers, they had the big idea early on that online learning kind of sucked often. Not all the time, but often, because instructors, great educators in any craft, were not necessarily camera friendly. They hadn't been trained to teach to the camera.
What a good point.
So as they were launching and kind of struggling with the results and the feedback from the audience, they said, wait a minute, what if we put an audience in front of these instructors as kind of the cheat to make them better? And that was the beginning of a very big idea and a very, very big online learning platform and transformation for education in the photography space digitally. It's now a gazillion-dollar company. It's been written up by every major publication. I encourage everybody to go there and just look at it. And you and I have talked about Creative Live. I've obsessed about Creative Live.
Obsessed, you guys. Obsessed. And not just Creative Live, though. Khan Academy, lynda.com, all the online learners. But Creative Live has always been Gordon's number one.
And what, again, to offer some context, we'll keep going back to that since you've got it top of mind for me, that it was really about what could it mean in our world, in the beauty world. It was real, because you and I are passionate about this space that we live in. So it was really kind of a search for how is online learning going to look in this field? And in talking to brands and talking to all the thought leaders in the industry, who we have these conversations very casually. What do you see in online learning? And I can't count the number of times I said, just go look at Creative Live, model them, steal them, rip them off in a friendly way, and I think you will find a solution to online education for beauty. Fast forward to a few months ago, and I was at Serious Business, a Neil Corp educational event in New Orleans. You've taught there a couple years ago.
Yes, love Serious Business.
We love Serious Business. Deborah Neal and team. And I met through my friends at Shore Tint a new staff person who would start talking about social and digital. She was new to the beauty industry. We got talking about online education. I mentioned Creative Live because I always mention Creative Live to anybody who says anything about online learning. And she said, I'm the former social media director for Creative Live, and I have to introduce you to one of the co-founders. His name is Craig Swanson, and he has launched an initiative independent of Creative Live. He's co-founder and co-owner of Creative Live, but he's got his own little side project, and he's partnering with online communities in different spaces to launch new online learning programs. And we, Hairbrained, are now in partnership with the co-founder of Creative Live, I have lust.
Can you believe that just came out of your mouth?
I know. It's like if you could lust in a business manner.
People do lust in a business manner, I think.
I have been lusting in a completely professional way after Creative Live for years. And so we have this brain trust and these producers and editors and videographers and just an amazing amount of talent and, more important, experience. They are and they have fallen in love with beauty already. And we just have such exciting stuff coming. And I'm here to film with Gerard Teaching and with our student audience a pilot episode. And I love that we call it a pilot because we're going to put it out, and our friends from Creative Live are passionate about learning. So they will look at how the audience feels, they'll listen to the audience. We're setting up a Facebook group where we'll have everybody who's in the course talking about what they love and maybe how we can improve it. And so lots and lots to come.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's such an inspiring story. And you're right, intention is such a big part of it. But I also think, it's kind of like the Passion Squared story. And many of you guys have heard the story, so we're not going to bore you with it. But Gordon and I were sitting around back in 2010, 2011, dreaming up this incredible idea around the social and digital web. And that's how Passion Squared was born. Yet when we launched, nobody wanted to listen to us. Nobody wanted to engage with us because Facebook was a fad, right?
Yep,
this is pre-Instagram.
Yep, not going to last.
Facebook's dumb, or it's a fad, and we hate Yelp. People already hated Yelp.
Yep.
And you guys, whatever. That's cute. Nobody would.
But you have to go back further because, and I've told this story before, and I don't know if I've told it to your audience, but I got into social media. I got an interest in the social media at a time when I had no interest in social media. For all the same reasons that you just mentioned. It's a fad. There's Farmville. Right. There was Farmville. We sat in Los Angeles at breakfast over scrambled eggs, brunch, and you said I was the executive director of the National Cosmetology Association at the time. You were one of our advisors and a dear friend. And you said, you got to get on Facebook. And I was like, what, to play Scrabble,
Yes, because I was a big player in the Scrabble world on Facebook back in the day. But I did not plant any farms in Farmville. But I have been to Farmville, Virginia.
Of course
it's a real place. Not far from where my aunt and uncle live, in Phoenix, Virginia. Shout out to Phoenix, Virginia. Nobody lives there really except my aunt and uncle.
Well, I'm going to stay with your farm story and turn it into a little bit of a metaphor. So what you did plant was seeds in my brain.
Oh my God. And, what is this, a fucking comedy show?
And I went on, within months, I was completely fascinated because of the big idea of community.
Yeah.
And over the course of probably a couple of years, I think separately and sometimes together in our different lives at that time, became immersed and just so impressed with the power of these platforms and what was coming. We didn't know it was coming, but to me, it was like it was a glimpse into the future, and most importantly, it felt so real and so relevant for this industry. And I think both of you saw something that a lot of people didn't see, and we became kind of evangelists in our own way.
Yes. Evangelists with no audience. I think everyone listening can probably relate because we all start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
We start with 0 clients, we start with 0 revenue, we start with 0 community, 0 followers, whatever, So, I love that.
And I think, and this carries forward today. My favorite quote these days when I do presentations is Wayne Dyer, who says, change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. And to me, we saw social differently than most. And over time, lots of people have evolved their thinking. But I still think that's the biggest opportunity in the professional beauty industry is for more people to change the way they look at social, because actually it's still a minority who really, truly are engaging and using these tools the way they should.
I couldn't agree more. And with that being said, what's happening now because of people are a little pissed at Facebook.
I'm a little pissed.
They, as we should be, I've definitely talked about that and done some videos and blogs and stuff. But what I'm seeing more and more now is that people are saying, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and so the big thought leaders in the space are saying, get back to blogging, get back to this, build your email list, all the fundamentals. And it's something that my clients, if you're listening, it's what we call the awesome client journey. And it is so much more than about social. And so, yes, social is so awesome. But if that's all you're doing, please rethink that strategy, because you don't own Instagram, guys. You own an email list. You own your website address. And so just be smart about it. So speaking of social and digital, I know that the other thing that you're really excited about is voice. Yes. I always know what's happening with Gordon, because every time we talk, regardless of the topic of what we're talking about, he'll always bring up his hot topic, his favorite topic. So probably for the last several months, it's been, he keeps saying voice, no matter if it fits in the conversation or not. He just fucking keeps saying voice.
It's a form of Tourette's.
And I get it. So, we in A school, we were just talking about digital, what's happening in digital. And so, we always talk what's the latest with websites, what's the latest with email, but now we've got voice and we've got bots, right? We have the chat bots that, whether it's just basic Facebook Messenger or it's actual, those customer care bots sitting on people's websites. Shit's changing again. And I love it because, you and I obviously were into it, but I've become a consumer of voice because I can't say her name because then she's going to jump on our podcast. But
I can say her name. Can't I?
The lady from the lady from Amazon. You guys know the one I'm talking about. Her name starts with an A.
Ends with an A too.
And she's and ends with an A. She's sitting next to us, so I'm not going to use her name, but. So what's happening with voice? Why are you so darn excited about voice?
It's everything I read, everything I watch about it. When I look at those who are really smart about the trends, you can't get away from it. So the predictors are talking about it in a very, very big way. I jumped into podcasting. I like to think I was the first. I know I wasn't in beauty, but when I was with American Salon, I've been podcasting now for I don't know, going on 2 years.
Yeah.
And so
pioneer.
To me, what was big about podcasting was just this big idea that the talking head is somewhat of a waste of time. The fact that I love watching YouTube videos, but I could go deeper with a podcast and walk my dog Cody simultaneously. There's an efficiency to podcasts that just, I think, based on the kind of storytelling that happens, like old school radio.
Yeah.
That it really, really is powerful.
That's like this. We're doing old school radio.
We're totally
because we're old as fuck. You know what? Maybe we should back up and let's go back to context. What does voice mean? We didn't even define it. Duh.
Well, and I don't know the technical. If I thought hard enough, I do. But and I was about to go. There's so many applications of voice because it's a technology that we get to talk to or listen to. That kind of accomplishes a lot of things. It's also often connected to that whole Internet of Things.
Yeah. And so we're talking about, again, the lady from Amazon. We're talking about the person from Google. We're talking about the lady whose name starts with an S who sits in our iPhones.
Voice texting.
We're talking about, voice texting. We're talking about podcasting. We're talking about search and discovery. And I think this is the thing that gets me so excited because kind of back to the awesome client journey and intent, search, discovery, action. And I just love that voice is such a big part of that. Even though we know that Siri, we know she was kind of that thing for us.
She was early.
But this is getting into such insane search and discovery, which translates to the local business, which is, again, why we got so stoked about social and digital back in the, mid 2000s. Because guys, I could be sitting anywhere and ask a question just to the gadget sitting next to me, and your salon or small business could be part of those search results. And It's just so exciting.
And while you're doing that, and this is the other exciting thing about search that will, I think, end up influencing salons at some point, not in a too far distant future, the other side of that device is connected to the biggest company in the world, which is collecting data about everything that you say in search in an effort to hopefully bring you better results. And so there's that other piece of this that when people plug into voice and use it as a tool, whether it's a Siri, whether it's the A word, it has the ability to pass on information back to the source, and that in itself is like super powerful.
That's so
super
awesome.
Powerful. And I think we haven't begun to see what's what. We haven't begun to. Really, we haven't started to think about the salon and what is voice going to be about. I mean, I think certainly, online booking is going to have voice sooner rather than later. You're going to be able to hop on that online booking platform and say, I want to book an appointment with Edgar, at 2:00 on Sunday, and it's going to tell you what's available. It's coming.
It just happened. Google Assistant. They actually, in the Google event, they used a hair salon. They used booking a hair appointment.
I didn't know that.
I'm looking for, here it is. Google did their big event, the I/O 2018. Mm-hmm. And the demo for this assistant, Google Assistant, is make me a haircut appointment on Tuesday morning, anytime between 10 and 12. No problem. I'll make you an appointment and update you soon. So they're integrating, guys. This is already happening, that they're integrating with booking and confirmation
and now we're combining voice and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So now we're taking a step because yes. I saw something, I think it was on 60 Minutes this last week, where they were doing a voice conversation. The device was doing what the user asked it to do, made a phone call, perhaps made an appointment with a salon, but all the talking was done by the device. The device had an engaged conversation with a service provider and expressed what the owner of the device wanted. And ultimately, this is all about efficiency, right? I mean, so much of what we deal with in technology, ideally. Alexa, if nothing else, we're moving to a hands-free environment. Typing is not natural for most people. I think older people in particular, sometimes they struggle with that. And so, voice allows you to skip around that. Voice, my mother's not someone who typed,
Right.
So she loves that she can use voice on her phone.
And my mom uses voice to text constantly, and she's 78. So yeah, this isn't just the kids, guys. Not about the kids. Stop using that excuse. That excuse is so 2013 that it's a young person's game, guys. It's not. This is where we're at.
And it keeps getting smarter, by the way.
Yeah, totally. Well, even like this has nothing to do with VoiceBot. The other thing that I love that's happening is Instagram at the big F8 conference. F8 is the big Facebook annual conference. And Instagram just for business accounts, for business pages, introduce integration with booking platforms, mm-hmm. Eventbrite, to sell tickets, and StyleSeat, and who knows, there's everybody eventually is going to partner up with them, right? And I mean, you guys, this is what this is all about. We got to make this so simple for the customer, right? And so I'm just stoked. I'm stoked. Well, you're stoked. You're smart.
And let me add too, not only make it simple, but again, we're back to context. So what is the context of technology for a consumer? Because that's where our expectations as consumers come from. We want online booking because we're booking everything else in our life through online platforms. And if we can't book in the salon, we've been trained by everybody else to do it. And so we should be thinking about, well, what are the people who come to me? How do they use technology in their life? I love getting a text from any service provider, to whether it's a dentist or a doctor or a hairdresser, a massage therapist, text me to remind me of my appointment, and I love you.
Love you, and I show
up.
Yeah, I mean, You guys, if you're a client of Passion Squared or a follower, you are so sick of me talking about this, but I'm more sick of talking about it. Like, if you're sick of hearing it from me, I'm sick of talking about it. Forget the social and digital web. We always have to put our client hat on, right? We always have to, whether we're designing our experience, designing our brand, whatever. It's all about the target audience, right? It's all about the people, whether it's the team or the client. What do they value? What's important to them? How do they operate? How do they behave? How do they feel? It's all back to that. So this just falls right into that. It's not about what you like or prefer or choose. At the end of the day, it's about the client. And again, and the team, if you actually have a team, that this is the way it works. This is the way it works for all of us. And so I think that's a really helpful way to kind of gain some perspective and maybe begin to shift your thinking is, guys, just think of yourselves as consumers, what you do every day. I bet you guys are all binging Netflix on demand. I bet you are touching that Amazon shopping button at least a couple times a week, if not daily. Think of your behavior as a consumer. Such a good point, Gordon. I'm so glad that you brought that up. So context, our favorite word.
Favorite, and so important. Because it's easy to be confused without it. And I think people don't realize it.
Give us an example in the professional beauty industry. Like, I know there's many.
There's many.
But is there any way you can kind of help us understand context from an example of the beauty industry?
Well, I mean, my biggest issue with context usually is, the fact that we're often not as informed as we need to be when we're talking about anything.
What does that mean? Like, give me just an example, like a random example.
Well, a random example would be, I'm not going to get into details of politics, but I'll use my mother as a good example, because my mother is very passionate,
We love Gordon's mama.
Love her. And she's the nicest person I know. And we have very different thoughts on politics. And she has these really strong opinions about politics in today's world. And yet when we have a little deeper conversation, she says, well, I don't really know the details because I don't pay that much attention. And yet she has really strong opinions.
I don't really know the details because I don't pay that much attention. So what you're saying is, by making that statement, that tells you don't have any context.
You don't have information that informs your decision, because that's what context really is, in a big way. It's having all the stuff around whatever it is that you're dealing with. To make a good decision. I'm in the
context business. I always say we're at Passion Squared, we're in the empowerment business. One of our clients just said that the other day, and it really made me think. And it's like, because I always say, we empower you to make good decisions. Well, that's context, right?
And education provides context. Education provides context. A side benefit of becoming educated is you have more context around more things in your life. So a good example in the business side of beauty would be the numbers, the math, the proven math around the best practices in beauty. So we know that salons sell a certain amount of retail on average. And whether you're going to make judgment about how you're doing, that measuring stick of average throughout the industry provides you context.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not a fan of averages.
It's one form. It's one form of.
I get the point.
So, okay. So more context on that. So, what are averages?
Yeah.
What's an average? People get confused about average. And then there's what's called the mean, and we won't go into the whole math conversation.
No math. Even though the company's named Passion Squared, the reason of the squared part, guys, was Gordon, because he's the finance major, whatever, and he left. So. Here, that leaves me, and I'm good at math, but not that kind of math. Like I could market products for several $100 million company math, but don't put me in an equation, or we're not doing.
So I'm going to give you a non-math related professional beauty context challenge, and this is a historical one that I think continues today.
Give it to us.
Often when people make judgments about we'll use compensation as an example. The way people are compensated. When people make judgments about the way other people are compensated, I find that more often than not, it's with a lack of context.
You mean making decisions on your pay structure and stuff like that?
Making judgments about how other people choose to be paid. So I used to call,
are you talking about independent versus employment based?
Yes.
Just say it.
And the judgments that sometimes go in both directions.
Oh, judgment. And you mean there's judgment around how people choose to get paid in the professional beauty industry?
Just a little tiny bit. But the good news is that judgment is starting to shift because I'm going to use another example. Please. We're going to meander here. So as anybody who's ever heard me speak before in public, I always somehow drop in that I'm a gay man. And I think it's really, really important and impactful that we are out. But I grew up at a time
we're both out.
We're both out. We are so out.
This is the out episode. We are way out.
We are way out. But when I was growing up, I was in high school in the early 70s. I graduated in 74. People were not out. And a connection to context was there was a movement, by the gay community to come out. And the belief was that when people knew us, when people understood us, when people knew that we were their sons, we were their neighbors, we were their friends, we were their coworkers and students, that they would have a new context by which to judge us. And
what a great example.
I got there. It took me a while.
No, it really is, though. It's that. Yes, context, understanding, having a framework to make a decision, being informed to make a decision. I love that. I love that. And if you're a younger person listening, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and even 90s, being gay was not cool.
Not cool.
That's why there were little booklets that said where to hang out. They were private, no signs on the door, the whole nine. That wasn't that long ago, guys. So
Nope.
Learn your history. That's the curmudgeons. That's grandma and grandpa beauty industry speaking. Listen to your
learn your history.
Listen to your elders. Okay. I love that. Okay. Let me ask you, I know you don't talk often. You actually don't talk a lot at all about your personal life. And I'm not gonna, spill the tea on that. But where do you get your inspiration? Because people always ask me that, where do you get your inspiration? And I know that you're into all sorts of stuff in your world that nobody knows about. So is there anything that inspires you that you want to share with our community?
Well, I mean, to me, the biggest thing is kind of the quest to never stop learning, which is not an inspiration in and of itself, but that's like a core of who I am. So every day, it's getting up and, I usually spend like 30 to 45 minutes just looking for my quote for the day. And that search is inspiration in and of itself.
That's a form of meditation.
Oh, wait, what? I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So,
intention setting for the day.
I can claim to meditate and set intention. Ooh. But I do. And I have this process and I like this, very much like this conversation. I am very tangential in the way my brain works.
I don't know what the fuck that means. Well, would you like to define that?
A tangent, just going to the left, going to the right, something kind of a sidetrack off of where you are. And so I don't think I'm ADHD, but sometimes in my search for knowledge, I am, where something sets me off and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I love that topic. And I'm going to hop on YouTube and I wonder if TED Talks has something on that topic. And then I will watch a TED Talk. I'm a news junkie. I've really had to work hard to slow that down. But I get inspired in how I think about the bigger world that we live in by the political news that I consume, which, by the way, I watch a little bit of all of it. The left, the right, the middle. I want to know it. Context. If you're just watching one side, you got no context. Yep. I'm a podcast lover, So you are. So I walk Cody, my beautiful rescue dog, 4 times a day.
Hi, Cody.
She has the best life, and I have a long list of podcasts, and I'm always plugged in when I'm walking her, and I'm plugged in when I walk to Walgreens or the grocery store. So to me, it's a never-ending kind of potpourri of of information, of
Such
books.
Such a 70s word.
Audio, right? I love Audible. You know, it's like my Audible. I'm going to look up my Audible right now because I'm
What's
listening
on your Audible?
I'm listening to something I love right now. And Scott Galloway, you know who Scott Galloway was?
I know
L2. I'm a huge, so I'm listening to The Four.
Oh, by Scott Galloway.
By Scott Galloway.
Yeah.
You know, the hidden DNA of Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Apple.
I have not read that book yet, but I'm a big fan of Scott Galloway, and the book is phenomenal. And he actually already predicted a lot of shit that's already happened. This book was written before, and I see you got Tribes on there.
I've got Tribes.
We love Seth Godin
I go back
Tribes.
to some of my favorites. I've got something called The Attention Merchants, which if you get all geeky about media and how it works and community, as I am with Hairbrained, you know, I've listened to this book twice. This is one I haven't listened to, about how YouTube is changing. The Power of Community by Howard Partridge, a book that was recommended to me by Daniel Kainer.
Hi, Daniel.
President of Orbe and co-founder of Orbe, Chief Culture Officer, which that one was recommended to me by our friend Tab Solomon.
Oh, awesome.
Tab Cuts Hair. So
Hi, Tab.
So recommend books to me, guys. And I have multiple books going on at a time. So you'll see I'm through them all.
I am the opposite of that. I am very limited in my books, but I'm very, very committed to them.
And then my last inspiration is, and you know this from a while back, and I do it in a different way today, but years ago I kind of fell into photography as a hobby for me. You know, it wasn't to show other people stuff. And I was really passionate about it. And then I kind of stopped. And I had my reasons for jumping into it. I needed a distraction from life at the time. And what I learned is that, and I take pictures every day. Now I use my phone. But I don't take pictures to see them after they're done.
Right.
I take pictures to focus on something and to look at it in a different way, whether it's through the lens or just the way I'm looking at it, that I took a moment to say, wow, I wonder if that would make a great picture. And then I pretty quickly move past whether it's a great picture or not.
Right.
And I just kind of get lost in the moment of looking at it. And it could be anything from a flower to a crack in the sidewalk.
2 doggies. Our babies. Lots of pictures of the babies.
Lots of pictures of the babies, including today. You know, we've already got some boomerangs.
Courage Dude, Faith Marie, and Cody Miller. I love that. Okay, I have one more advice. I know we talked about advice last time when you were here. I don't remember what we talked. I don't remember the advice.
I don't either.
So if you didn't listen to the first podcast, listen to it. If you did, the advice may be the same. I don't know. But advice, what's kind of that? I know you get the DMs like I do. Gordon, I'm new in the industry.
Right. Yeah.
I'm lost. What do I do?
Oh, my gosh. Well, the lost is, again, that does require context, because my first thing would be to ask a lot of questions, you know, about where that person is and in their career, in their life, you know, what environment are they working in, you know, kind of what school of thought do they follow in hairdressing, both in business and practice. So, you know, I think there's a lot that can come into that. But I think it's not to be shy about seeking out resources, for sure.
Gotcha.
And that DM maybe was the first step.
Yeah.
I'm really in from an advice mode, and maybe because we're so in e-learning at the moment, but I just am constantly drawn to the idea of practicing. And I just think it's such a powerful tool that it's so easy for people who have long careers to forget how important it is to practice.
I mean, this is practice, right? We didn't just wake up being awesome podcasters.
So that remains my best advice. I think anything that you want to be better at, you know, practice is one of the keys. You know, I think first to get a good foundation in training, but then practice. Whether it's guest conversations, whether it's remembering to rebook people, whether it's the haircuts you're trying to master,
capturing content,
posting, the way you express yourself, storytelling. It's all about practice. And you know, in many ways, life is just one long practice session if you allow yourself to.
And we complicate shit. You guys, it's not that complicated.
Yes.
Okay. So before we go, I know we got so excited about HB
Live Academy,
and then the whole Creative Live discussion that How do you get involved with HB Live Academy? Like, we didn't even go there.
No, we did not.
Tell us. What do we do?
I get too excited when I'm being intimate with you. So the good news is it's really easy. You know, from your phone, from whatever device you're on, just go to hblive.me, not .com. hblive.me. That will take you to the website, which is HB Live Academy, which is part of the Hairbrained community. But it lives on its own platform, and there you'll learn everything that we're up to. There's like crazy good discounts and prices on the, and we're discounting. To be honest, I hate to talk about discounts because we don't really recommend them.
And I'm not a fan of discounting, but it's strategic.
And it's a pilot.
It's very strategic, and it's a pilot. So it's, we want to make
special
pricing.
We want to make it affordable, but we want to encourage people to really be involved, and
yes.
We're so happy to be doing this. So thank you for asking, and I hope everybody go check it out.
I'm so stoked. I'm so happy personally for my bestie Gordon, because I know this is like a lifelong dream, but I'm just so happy for the larger community to have this additional resource in a new format that can only help, right? It can only help, and it can only help us make better decisions, help us be better artists, and all that kind of stuff. Where do we find you on the internet, Mr. Miller?
First and foremost, Hairbrained. So Hairbrained also .me, hairbrained.me. That's the community platform. It's free. And I always like to say, and it's so good for you.
Yeah, good for you.
So we hope you'll go over there, and you can find me on there. Just search by my name, Gordon Miller. I am on Facebook and Instagram. I go by Gordon M, but with one O. So it's GORDN as in Nancy, M as in Mary.
Or as in Miller.
But I prefer Mary.
Of course you do.
so GORDNM is my handle, and then on Facebook you just throw that at the end of the URL. I will be very, very honest and say I have become obsessed more so with Instagram. I'm kind of not very active on Facebook these days, and I have my reasons for that. But I'm fully vested in Instagram.
I love that. We love Instagram. We love everybody. Gordon, thank you so much for hanging out. I love having you at the house. And thank you for Courage's toy. Gordon always brings Courage Jude and Faith Marie little presents. So thanks for that. Thank you for being such a solid, sound, consistent, wise voice in the professional beauty community. I know I can say this on behalf of all of us. We absolutely love you, adore you, respect you, and are so grateful to have you.
Back here. At you. Every one of them. Back at you. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. And yes, we are besties, obviously. I think anybody can tell. I love the podcast. I love everything that you're doing at Passion Squared. Everybody, needs to follow. Spread the word. Spread the word. Gordon, thank you so much. And thanks, guys, for listening to this, again, another very extended podcast with Gordon Miller, Chief Engagement Officer at Hairbrained.me. I love you guys. Have an awesome day wherever you are. Thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. To learn more about Passion Squared, you can visit us at passionsquared.net. You can find us on the gram and on Facebook at Passion Squared, and be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. We're so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome day, guys. Love you.